Hello everyone and welcome to your horoscope for the week of March the 18th till 24, 2024. We have quite an interesting week ahead of us, and this is where it is going to be feeling like truly stepping from one dimension into the other, or another symbolism that I can use, where we are released from a slingshot. This is where the first part of the week is gonna be under the Piscean energy's strong influence. So we are speaking about a certain kind of stillness and a certain kind of powerful calling for introspection. So I do believe I'm not going to exaggerate when I say a lot of time of the beginning of the week, we are going to be spending deep within ourselves, trying our hardest to come up with answers, to come up with clarity, to come up with even our most sacred dreams, or to conquer a certain kind of inner demon from within us. While very soon after this, the energy is going to shift, the speed, the intensity, the momentum is going to pick up so very quickly that, as I said, we will just wake up to the fact that we're no longer in Kansas, symbolically speaking. And this is due to the Aries equinox that is going to take place on the 20th of March, and I have a special recording with this subject. So if you'd like to know more or greater details, check out that video. I'm going to link to it down below. But as soon as this Aries equinox starts the intensity, because on one hand, every single year when the sun enters into the sign of Aries, that marks the new cycle, that marks the astrological new year. So it is always a period when, regardless of the general configuration of the sky, we are still somehow pushed into the new, pushed into the next, pushed into that new beginning creational phase of the year. But this year is going to be extra special because at the time of this Aries equinox, other power players in the sky really stamp a very strong karmic imprint on everything that is taking place. Some of that karmic stamp almost programs very important terminations and closures that will soon follow this equinox, while other power players do stamp imminent creation, new beginning, or a new, how should I say, journey, depending on our personal situation, but of course collectively as well. And these two energies, which are in a certain way dichotomous in their nature, have to be good bedfellows. But also this week, Mars, a very important planet because it does rule our action taking, our specific, uh, as I said earlier, action taking modus operandi, our instincts, our reaction, what we do with our energy, basically. So Mars exits the sign of Aquarius and it enters, it dips into the sign of Pisces, changing its vibe, changing how we perceive it, changing, our moods. It is another very important energy shift that takes place roughly around the same time as the Aries equinox. And towards the very, very end of the week, we are in the shadow of the penumbral lunar eclipse taking place on the 25th. So the very beginning of the week after. So this is going to be a truly intense week where we reach some very important conclusions, especially about our inner forces, our inner world, that which usually is unseen, hidden, always under the dark. But at the same time, we also understand what spirit, what the divine, what our connection to the universe wants to tell us at this moment, because it is preparing us to quantum leap in the, without a doubt, in the month of April is going to be one important moment in that perspective. So this is a very, very intense energy and a rather weird one, because the Piscean expression is misty. It is not all that much very obvious, especially externally. It is also rather timeless, rather slow, stagnant, so to speak. The Aries energy is almost like the opposite. It's initiatory. It is ready to take action. It has a certain kind of anxious element to it. It is our inner fire. It is the head. It is quick. It is opportunistic. So these two energies are definitely going to mix together, especially in the middle of the week, because that is when we have this transition period. But at the same time, there is a lot of karma at play. Karma being prepared by the upcoming lunar eclipse in the sign of Libra. So that is going to be. And also, if you'd like to know more about the penumbral lunar eclipse in Libra, I also have a special video for that. Check it out if you're interested. So with this being said, I'll share my screen and let us go together through the week. So here we are on the 18th. And on the 18th, the most relevant celestial and also, if you can see, most of the planets except the moon are packed into one hemisphere of the sky. So this hemisphere. So this is where there is not a lot of very big conversations except conjunctions taking place between the big power players. So this gives us a certain kind of impression, illusion that there is a calm before the storm, but we can feel how in this, during the calm, things are preparing, charging up in the background. So there is that. But let us get to the Sun conjunct Neptune. This conversation takes place every single year, and it's been a lot of years since Neptune was a resident of its home sign of Pisces. But this is slowly and surely changing as we head towards 2026, when Neptune will leave this part, dip into the sign of Aries. But more importantly, this Neptune and Sun conjunction really reveals what is within us. In a way, it reveals our dream, our ideal, our true faith, what we truly believe in. But at the same time, it also reveals our fears. It also reveals our vulnerabilities. And we must not forget that this is the third decan of Pisces, the last 10 degrees of Pisces, a scorpionic decan, which is, called by astrologers the undoing of the self. So this is a very delicate, but also more spiritually and psychologically important position, because whatever is being revealed, and Neptune is getting close to that anaretic position. So whatever is being revealed, whatever big life conclusions, inner conclusions, or our connection with the spirit, our faith, what we believe in, who we are in this divine, manifestation that we call the world. What is our place? On one hand, all of that is highly subjective. It is an illusion, but at the same time, the divine truth is of that nature. So whatever big questions we are getting answers to are very, very important. But at the same time, this is also a very not so easy period and not so easy beginning of the week for everyone who is struggling, battling mental health issues, psychological problems, trauma, sadness, loss, grief, because this brings out, our self-victimization tendencies. This is also that inner power which wants to see life in a rather negative way, where it seeks for every injustice which would make us in a certain way victims of ourselves, of other people, of the world, of everything in it. So this is a delicate energy. And if you know that there is someone in your life who is usually struggling with mental health issues or depression or sadness, or suffered a big loss recently, and they're under this psychological turmoil, an inner crisis, so to speak, make sure to check up on them and let them know that you are there for them, that you love them, basically, because the cure for this energy is without a shadow of a doubt love, and also Piscean love, because Piscean love is not the classic I love you because. It is simply when the divine's love is felt through us and we are able to love the same way. This is where the Holy Trinity, first we have to connect to the divine, to in order to channel the divine love, to feel it, to understand it with the heart, and then we can share it to other people, other beings, other everything. Why? Because this divine love is from the perspective of the creator, which loves everything in existence, which cannot discriminate. Almost like when a parent, a really loving parent, has a very, very, very indisciplined child, and they still love the child, even if the child goes against everything they believe in. But that kind of love and sympathy and tolerance of the divine kind. So that is the cure to this, the downside of this energy. But at the same time, it's not just a cure. Collectively speaking, that is exactly what the divine is calling us to understand under the Sun Neptune conjunction. Pisces, the past has to be forgiven. The Sun can be seen as the light of understanding, humanity's collective spirit, and Neptune, the divine source, but also the past that needs to be looked at from a different lens, a lens of love, a lens of forgiveness, a lens of tolerance, a lens of, regardless of what our differences are, we're still part of one, because the universe is nothing else but a living and breathing organism that we are components of. So this is basically what the Neptune Sun conjunction, collectively speaking, almost demands from us: to find forgiveness in mass, collectively, to find unity, to find that spirit of communion within ourselves and one another. So you can basically play with your own interpretation skills and see what this can possibly mean on the world stage, where there is a lot of tolerance and forgiveness needed in so very many places in the world and in so very many situations. And also, quite personally speaking, this is where the light of the sun illuminates the mystery, the Maya, even Neptune. So we have this chance to understand the self, especially the inner parts, and the divine's imprint, the divine's plan, the divine's presence in our life that much more strongly. And also, this kind of energy represents that we must not always get lost in the collective, in the sense that the divine's expression is always collective. Of course, it is. But at the same time, it is super individualistic. there are things of any nature you can think of that the divine wants to personally enable through you, live through you, guide you through a journey. There are a lot of very, very personal elements, and that must make all of us feel and know and basically be able to hold this truth that there is also a deeply personal, just soul tailored relationship that every single being has individually, uniquely their own with the divine. So one's faith, one's connection, one's relationship with the divine cannot be similar or totally identical to another. Similarities, of course, will always exist, archetypes, so of course, but it cannot be the same 100%. So this is where we have to embrace our spiritual journeys, also for what they mean just for us personally, no one else, nothing else, just us and the divine, as if the whole world would not exist. It would be only us two, we and the divine. So there is also that which we need to tap into deeply. On the other hand, for artists, spiritualists, all of that, this is a really, really favorable energy for creations, for song, for music, for going very, very deep into immersing into anything with fantasy, with dreams, with imagination, creativity in that sense. And at the same time, this is also a really strong period for any kind of paranormal and magic manifestation and to get in touch with that. And unfortunately, this is also a period when for a few days the element of water might be drowning, might be a bit dangerous, might pose a threat. So we might see the cruelty, let's say, of the seas or of the waters. And there is something really important that the Sun conjunct Neptune, a celestial conversation that they hold, because they form a square with the galactic center being at 27 degrees of the sign of Sagittarius. The galactic center is like the divine mind, the source of divine intelligence, or the omniscient, all-seeing eye of the divine. Seeing is, divine terms, seeing is making it real. You know what I mean? So and this square refines our deepest faith. This square highlights where our misaligned beliefs are and what healthy expression of that might be, both collectively and individually. And collectively, this is where the manipulatory and the perhaps deceptive elements and parts of religions or any kind of spirituality and spiritual practice are highlighted. So this is a period without a doubt when all of us need to pay attention, and downloads and synchronicities are going to be ongoing. However, this is a square. They're not going to be very clear or very obvious. So if you cannot figure it out, it's absolutely fine because you're not supposed to right now. So chill, you know what I mean? And on the 19th, moving on, we already have an anaretic sun. The conjunction with Neptune is still operational, but the sun is at 29 degrees of Pisces. 29 degree of any sign is anaretic degree. That is when the planet there becomes a bit extreme, and usually that shadow qualities are highlighted. And to make things a bit more complicated, 29 degrees of Pisces is also host to a rather dark, let's say, fixed star named Seat, or let me spell it out for you, Scheat. And this is kind of malevolent because this fixed star is what it represents, it symbolizes exactly when the seas and waters are unforgiving and harsh, regardless if it's external water, in the sense like ocean, sea, or any body of water, drowning, the risk of drowning, or inner water, our own psyches, where insanity or the inner demons that determine us to harm ourselves, the undoing of the self, or to terminate an incarnation. I don't even want to pronounce the word. So this is an energy which is activated every single time the sun passes here, but this year it's a bit more serious, and in the coming year, because energetic Neptune will also this year conjunct that fixed star. So Neptune, its lower expression is the illusion, the lie, the deception. No one said that the lie has to be exterior, our inner demon, our deepest shadow, the spirit of the Antichrist, so to speak, that also can touch us. Why not? That is this energy, and so we must fight it. But again, the tools are love and the deepest possible trust that we can develop with the divine source, which is always benevolent. It cannot be destructive. This energy also makes people fear the divine plan, as in a strong mistrust in the divine. That's also an energy which many times causes dark nights of the soul and moments of great misfortune until that trust is restored. Why? Because trust in the divine is the bridge to divine protection. When the trust is broken, we become invisible in the classic sense to the divine. The divine wants to help us, but we cannot, almost like a USB device, it has to be plugged in. If it's not plugged in, it's not going to be very helpful. So whenever we have this mistrust in the divine and we fear it for any reason, that's when we are manifesting everything, and the divine cannot stop us. You know what I mean? It wants to, it struggles, it tries to help us, but until the trust is restored, it simply cannot block out the bad manifestation. When the trust is there, then that's when, you know, it's almost like a virus protection. It blocks out that which is a malevolent information coming even from our inner beings. It will know that it's not really us, it's just the twisted parts of us. And instead of manifesting it, it will show us where to look for the bug, for the internal bug or the inner demon. Like, for example, it will one way or another send us to a therapist, to a psychologist, parapsychologist, astrologer, healer, whatever. So yes, and the sun conjunct this Seat is really important because we see the inner demon for what it is, and it loses its power. It is us who have to choose to give it its power. Otherwise, it cannot kill us. Otherwise, even for, like, let's say, a total atheist, nature is there, and nature goes against this fatalistic instinct. So nature is the saving grace on its own. But if we have both nature and a very strong trust with the divine, we are as safe as we could possibly be. So these days might be really difficult for people who are going through, you know, mental breakdowns, who are going through tough periods in their lives. But remember, the very same energy can empower the sacred in your life. And that is just as efficient as the inner demon. Of course, it is infinitely more powerful, but when we are down, we cannot necessarily look and feel things this way. But the sacred is definitely a very strong power if activated with love. So, very, very important. And also, around the same time, Mercury is conjunct the North Node. And Mercury is slowly and surely stepping into 16 degrees of Aries, which is already in shadow. But Mercury conjunct the North Node, this is where the element of the mind, the intellectual, mental sphere, joins our deepest instinct to move forward in life or fight for our wants, needs, goals, survival, principles, what Aries energy, that North Node. This is our story, our plans, our directions. Not only is Aries the head, so it always determines the direction, but the North Node can be seen as a dragon, where the the nodes of the moon, the nodal axis, can be seen as a dragon, where the North Node is the head of the dragon, where it has eyes, where it also determines its course. It's the GPS. So Mercury, a planet which is the soft in the GPS, joining every other energy, North Node and Aries, which has to do with our setting the course. This is where it's brainstorming time. And this Mercury can also be kind of assertive because it is in Aries. So this is where we speak our truth, speak what is on our mind's head, especially. But we can expect that it may wound, but at the same time, it may cause fights, conflicts, etc., etc. Now, how this plays out on the world stage is very obvious. And this fight, so to speak, the verbal one, the ideological one, how to solve a situation, Aries, whose initiation, whose, how should I say, plan in that sense is better. A debate in this that is very much needed. But like anything in astrology, it has two sides to it. It can play out in a violent, wounding, conflictual, assertive way, or it can play out in a really constructive way, where at the end of the day, something is chosen and it is empowered. Whatever the initiation is, both individually and collectively, saying. But of course, with Mercury, as I said, we are before a Mercury retrograde period where it will officially start at the very end of the month. So this is where the Mercury retrograde themes are being, evoked slowly and surely. The Mercury retrograde themes that we will have to redo, rethink, solve, figure out, communicate, etc., etc., under the Mercury retrograde season. So this is where it's already starting. Now I would like to move on to the 20th, when we have the Aries equinox. I spoke about this earlier, and I also have a special recording, so I'm not gonna waste time in this recording about that equinox, but it is the start of an astrological new year, and it is the first, new year in that sense when Pluto is a permanent resident of Aquarius. So the first moment after a big change of times that already took place starting from that 2020. when Pluto met with Saturn and Mercury and the Sun and Ceres in the sign of Capricorn on the 12th of January. So that was a massive change of times. And in 2020, 21st December, Saturn met with Jupiter at that 0 degrees of Aquarius, which was the beginning of the new paradigm, the great conjunction that opened the next 20, but also 200-year cycle, which is dominated by air energy, the first 20 by the energy of Aquarius. So this is a really powerful equinox and very, very significant. Also, Mercury is almost conjunct Chiron, the wound and wounding. Mercury, the understanding of it, how to help the situation, fix the situation, heal with intelligence. Mercury, of course, communication, intelligence, getting there, addressing something, being truthful about something, both individually and collectively alike. Or how to do something, Mercury modus operandi, how not to wound, to reduce wounding. So this Mercury Chiron conjunction is very, very important, even though we will get more of this when Mercury goes retrograde. But this already marks the themes. And because this is Aries, the new first breath, then Mercury, technologies, way to do things, plans, theories, etc., research, Chiron healing, new healing techniques, new healing technology, new way to treat illnesses, wounds, new understanding of about healing and the world of medicine. So this is quite an exciting conjunction for the medical world, regardless if it's like the classic type of medicine or any other type of alternative healing. And Aries, when new alternatives are going to be born under this energy. So very, very important. But the wound and wounding, Mercury, the planet of media, is going to be highlighted very, very, very much. You know, in the news, internet, social media, everyone's going to be talking about this wounding, wounds, etc., and war. Aries, war. So this equinox is going to be quite special. Now moving on the 21st, this is where Venus is perfecting. You cannot see it on my screen, but you must trust me that this conjunction will perfect with Saturn. Venus loves being in the sign of Pisces. She is exalted there. Romance, ideal, principles, you know, everything that she is in Libra, but fell through deeply in our inner world. Libra is more the mind, how we understand, how we think, how we perceive. Pisces is really that understanding filtered through our psyche, the depth of who we are. But Saturn reality check. For some people, this is a very important time because the reality of their relationships, how much love, how much compassion, how much true soul level energy is within their relationships and how much is lacking. So this will depict a quite a realistic picture to them about their love lives. But Venus is also about values. Venus is about everything that we love, everything that we like, everything that we need in our lives. Venus and everything, especially in Pisces, it's not just the material Taurus Venus, but this is where it's even the spiritual, the artistic, the psychological, fantasy, imagination, the inner, all sides of it. So how are our needs being met? And Saturn, regardless who is responsible, that responsibility can go to other people exterior. That responsibility then very well can go to us, because we are ultimately our own parents in a Saturnian way, that we have to take care of ourselves, provide for ourselves, educate ourselves, and stop ourselves when we're wrong, what a parent would do. And we're also our own bosses, our own judges, our own police, first of all. Saturn. So, where does this responsibility go to? Because for some people, Pisces, two sides. It can be that they're trying for themselves maximally, but a certain society, a place, community, other people, family, what something exterior is the blockage. And then they have to realize that that's the case. That's why their own efforts are not maximal, because they are in a bad environment. While for other people, the environment is ideal, but it is them who are not taking something as seriously as Saturn would like. And the seriousness is either psychological, like for example, my innermost feelings actually shape my reality and they matter. They're not just an optional thing. Or my self-talk matters, because Venus, how I treat myself, it's Saturn. That's not just something, a theory, or sometimes it works and other times it doesn't. That's real and it will determine reality. So it is all these things that we might not be taking seriously enough, hence discipline enough, that are going to be highlighted. At the same time, this is very positive as well. Saturn is an element of fate. Venus, fated connections. Pisces, the past. Something fated comes back from the past, but under a new format. You know what I mean? Or fated anything. Relationship, friendship, love, Libran elements, one-on-one alliance, because Venus rules Libra, or Taurian elements, someone, something, that a connection that you need, or they need you. So this energy also forms relationships, but these relationships are very, as I said, fated, karmic in their nature. And this also, whenever Venus conjunct Saturn, the positive side, someone, you, another person, something in your life is ready to commit. Venus and Saturn. That's also a reality check. The commitment is ready. Commitment may be marriage, to take a relationship on another level, to move in together, etc., etc. Sign a contract. I know that that is not Piscean. It is not ruled by Pisces. However, when you make the decision to sign or not, how your inner world feels about it, or what your premonition is, that can matter a lot. So this is the moment when you have that. You know what you feel. You know what your inner being tells you. So it can be quite an interesting period, an important period for commitments, for agreements, a reality check, and also financially, materially, in many ways. Um, and another energy which is really important is that the Mars. If I mentioned Mars, well, let's speak about Mars. Mars is in an erratic Aquarius, so it really brings out the wild side. It is, after all, the planet associated with war, rebellion in Aquarius, rebellion, protesting, social uprising, revolutions, the power of the people being sparked in a very serious way for humanity, for humanitarianism, for freedom, for equality, for everyone to matter, for common principles, common goals. And we already see this play out on the world stage, because right now we still have the last bits of the Mars-Uranus square, where people go out publicly, groups of people, and they say, they claim that, well, listen, world, XYZ, even though officially is president or whatever, high priest, president, parliament member, representative, diplomat, they don't really, morally, they don't represent us. They're not us. And we see this on social media, and even especially in the United States, where people go and tell to their faces, to these categories of people who I mentioned earlier, that you're really, you just play the game because you have the paper that you're a member of parliament or council member or president or whatever, but you're really not our president. We don't recognize you on a soul level, spiritually, heart level, or whatever level. You're really not. So this act of denouncement, we will see much more of this. So now let's get back, let's leave Mars alone for a bit, and let's get to the Sun entering Aries. This is, besides the Aries equinox and all that, this is also important because 0 degrees of Aries is the world stage, especially with initiations and conflicts. So the world stage is very strongly highlighted. On the other hand, on the 20th and 21st, we can still consider the Sun to form an outer Sun conjunction with Neptune. Faith, religion, the spirit, illusion, lies, deception is gonna, both the positive and negative expressions of this energy are gonna be part of the world stage struggle, whatever is illuminated. More importantly, Sun holds a sextile with Pluto. So again, Aries, the individual. Pluto in Aquarius, the power of masses and the power of people. Sextile. You do what you want with this energy because action makes it real. Action empowers it. So you can imagine that this is a very revolutionary, a very protest favoring, power of the people, truth of the people, rising of the people kind of energy. This sextile will empower all what I mentioned earlier. But at the same time, Pluto can be seen as top-down authority. So they will have reaction to this. So don't be sure that something will rise up. And as a interesting fact, Moon is in Moon is in Leo at this moment. So the heart on fire. Yep. Now moving on, a minor astrological conversation is held by Mercury, who is starting its semi-sextile with Uranus, and these two planets are each other's octaves. So this is an uncomfortable energy because Mercury, our attention, there is the collective expression, but at the same time, Uranus in the sign of Taurus says that, okay, but your situation, your plans, your karmic journey, what you need to do for yourself individually outside of the collective situation, that won't wait. So we have to multitask, like it or not. And this is an uncomfortable, anxious energy because so much is on our minds. And the sun is out of Pisces. So the dreaminess of Pisces or the escapism of Pisces is no longer there. So this is when it's time to execute or time to brainstorm, time to multitask. And needless to say that Venus-Saturn conjunction, the reality check of it, doesn't help in this sense because we cannot immerse into fantasy or it's gonna be okay. Why? Because we know that it's gonna be okay, absolutely, but it's gonna be okay because we are taking action and doing stuff now, right now, whatever the doing stuff means for us personally. So moving on, still on the 23rd, here we are on the 23rd. It is important because Mars finally enters the sign of Pisces. Now, Mars has a unique relationship with the sign of Pisces. It is not its most comfortable place to be in. So whenever Mars is here, usually our vitality drops a little bit. This is a rather procrastinating energy. This is an energy where we don't feel physically all that fit, physically all that ready. We don't want to embody physically the energies of Mars. But at the same time, everything that has to do with inner work, spirituality, psychology, our own things that we need to do within ourselves, it favors that. Regardless if it's coming up with a plan, but a Piscean kind of plan, if you know what I mean. How I'm gonna live through this and that, how I'm gonna feel, etc., etc. Creating dreams, creating art, refining principles, goals, spirituality, faith, etc., etc. It's really good for all of that. And as a physical activity, Mars, it's really good for things which combine inner with outer and movement, like taking a hike, meditating, fitness, but fitness in the sense where it is combined with your dream to have the body, or why ever you're doing fitness, moving to music, dance, qigong, or whatever helps you combine something interior like a state of feeling or a dream desire with movement. It's really good for that. And at the same time, Mars, planet of action, this is when we go for checkups. Because Pisces, for example, can represent um, your blood chemistry. If there is a need for a checkup, well, Mars says now is the time. But on the other hand, Mars in the sign of Pisces is really, really good to have an influence on ourselves, on our inner world, for anything that has to do with psychology, art, magic, and to muster will, but from the very depth of our soul. It's a really good energy for that. Also, it empowers what we do with illusion, Mars. So collectively speaking, this will represent a psychological warfare. Without a doubt. Whenever in the last, I don't even know, 10 years, so to speak, whenever every 2 years or so, whenever Mars is in Pisces, we really see the external manipulation flourishing out there, regardless if it's something as minor as adverts out there. But adverts can be made so very illusionary and so exaggerated that there is a certain point when you say, let's not lie with such beauty and such grace, you know what I mean? But at the same time, the classic exception of psychological warfare, whatever is going on in the world right now. But at the same time, Mars in the sign of Aquarius also represented just that, but from a totally different point of view. Technology, social media, AI, how we spread messages through the internet, etc., etc. In the Pisces, maybe the technological side is not all that much there, but the mastery of the deception is going to compensate for the lack of Aquarian energy, if you know what I mean. So sadly, there's also that. And as Mars enters at 0 degrees of Pisces, it holds a semi-square with the North Node in its ruler, its home sign of Aries. So this will cause a very powerful, it is just a psychological energy, but it is frustration. Why? Well, North Node in Aries and Chiron and Mercury are in the vicinity. Sun is already activating Aries. The sun loves being in the sign of Aries. Very self-oriented. So this, let's say if we would ignore the semi-square, this would just mean I'm getting ready. I'm readying my muscles to do this, to take initiation, my dreams, my fight, my sovereignty, my whatever. Or who I want to become, who I'm birthing myself to be, my new project, my new dream, my new hobby, my new whatever. There's that, and I'm getting ready, even Mercury retrograde. In a sense, it's positive because it's not just the plan, but the plan perfected. Aries doesn't like it, but whenever it has to perfect, that plan will go like a sacred arrow. It will definitely hit its mark. So there's that. And then Mars in Pisces, but everything, but how am I gonna do all of this when I'm stuck in the past, in my thoughts, when I'm lacking the energy, timing is not very correct, everything that might hinder me, Mars in Pisces, is popping up in my life. Fortunately, this is just a psychological energy because neither our strong Aries initiation, the getting ready, is all that much real. Neither is the obstacles and whatever frustrates Mars all that much real. So usually it's the middle path. I'm neither as blocked as I think I am. I can find a way through, but neither am I that big hero that I feel I am because I have to take things slowly. And there is a lot of endurance here as well. It's not just the initiation. There is the initiation, absolutely, but that will need oceans of follow through with determination, with Mercury retrograde, refining the plan, etc., etc. So you can see the frustration element here. But let us speak about a saving grace. Let us move to the very end of the week where Venus is already trining Jupiter, sextiling Jupiter. But I would consider this energy to be even bigger of a blessing than a trine, if this is even possible. Why? Because a trine is something that just pops up, just is handed to us, especially with Venus and Jupiter. Good luck, good fortune, blessing, flowy, love, romance, pleasure. Taurus, Pisces. Sextile gives us the chance to do something with it, to make it our own. And especially that Venus is still in the vicinity of Saturn, this can represent a reward. When something comes just as a good fortune, freely, without even lifting a finger, easy come, easy go, even the inner satisfaction. But when something comes as a reward, good karma, Pisces, good deeds, morality, strong backbone, you did something for the divine Pisces, or you're an artist, you had the courage to express your most wild art. There is something that you've done, Saturn, a sacrifice or stability or work or something that you've done. Venus, especially in the sign of Pisces, the principle of it taken onto divine planes. And Jupiter in Venus's home sign of Taurus, the real, well, it becomes real. The reward is real. It is tangible. It matters. It delights you. It causes you joy. And Jupiter, expensive, much more than you anticipated. This can also be a surprise moment when the surprise is sinking in, because later on, not this week, Venus will hold the same trine with Uranus, also in her sign of Taurus, and Jupiter and Uranus are already in an operational conjunction. It is not the peak of the moment that will be on 20th of April, but it is already an operational conjunction. It might be the calm before the storm, but everything within the calm points to the fact that there is going to be a storm. When you feel the static in the air, or when, in my part of the world, because I don't think this is country or culture linked, before a storm, winged ants swarm. When we see winged ants and they get into our eye everywhere, we know that a big storm is about to come, because the winged ants stay underground under normal circumstances. They only surface before a storm. So, yeah, I do believe that they feel it. They would drown if they would stay underground. I do believe. But anyway, so everything points to the fact that there is going to be a huge storm. This is how to understand this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. When sparks are starting to fly, but it hasn't ignited yet, it's definitely there. So this actually adds to the positivity and the surprise element of the Venus and Saturn conjunction, because it is a reward that will matter. Or it can also mean that something that you choose to do, Jupiter, wisdom, justice, highest octaves of knowledge, ultimately something positive, optimistic, or something very, very moral, something that you might choose to do, rewards you handsomely. Venus conjunct Saturn. So this is a really, really positive energy. And another energy that I would like to highlight, this is where Ceres in the sign of Capricorn also trines Jupiter. And they trine a dwarf planet Orcus as well. So this is a grand trine. I like this energy because Ceres, nurture, harvest, grain, Demetra, Capricorn, top-down authority, trine Jupiter, the help, the humanitarian help, the food, Ceres, nurture, nourishment, doing the right thing finally. So there is a good chance for this. And Orcus, anti-Pluto in the sense that it reveals the corruption or the bad or Pluto, but instead of eliminating it, it reintegrates it, it fixes it in that sense. It tries to purify it, Orcus, and it punishes oath breakers. So under Orcus, other energies are forced to hold their promise. Or whenever Orcus holds an aspect, especially a positive aspect, with any other planet, the other planet is almost like bound to dish out its most gentle or positive or balanced expression. And with Ceres, it's really good news because it's the food that people need. And Jupiter, justice, Taurus, long-term solution. So this gives me a lot of hope. And also at this moment, if you can see, the moon is trining Black Moon Lilith in the sign of Virgo. No discrimination. So I really, really like this energy. So this kind of concludes the energies that we may expect in the following week. But as I said, as colorful as and as energy shifting as this may seem, this is just under the shadow of the upcoming lunar eclipse, which is going to be quite significant. But way more significant than that is going to be the total solar eclipse that we have on the 8th of April this year. So we're in eclipse season, and this week is just a preparation. Even though it may seem quite fated, it may seem quite significant in so very many ways. And feeling wise, the energy will definitely shift. So thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for all the beautiful comments, all the love and support. And I'm wishing everyone a truly blessed equinox and slash Ostara, however you may celebrate this. So thank you everyone. Until next time, bye for now.